What's up guys, my name is Ace, and several days ago we got our first look at a Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer map. This is Marina Bay Grand Prix, and with this we just saw this short clip that shows some flyovers and different sections of the map, but it doesn't show us the entire map. We can't really see the full layout here, and therefore you can't really judge too much how this map is going to play based on just these. However, if you were to take a really close look at each one of these, you can actually piece together a fairly accurate representation of the full layout of this map. And this is something I started working on by myself just in Photoshop, trying to get a general layout and structure of the map nailed down, until I saw a Reddit post from RobMcDUK. I will leave a link down below to his Twitter, as well as the original Reddit post. And he actually created a 3D version of this using the Black Ops 3 mod tools. And this is head and shoulders above what I could have created in Photoshop, so I decided to just scrap what I started working on. I reached out to him and he was happy to let me use this for a video. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today, is the overall layout of Grand Prix. Now, a big thing to keep in mind here is this isn't necessarily a perfect one-to-one representation of Grand Prix, especially in the inside areas. We didn't get an amazing look at these. So as far as I can tell, I believe he made a few logical assumptions based on the interiors of that. It may not line up one-to-one, just like some of the cover placement as well. So don't take this as a 100% flawless recreation of this map. It's more so just to give you a good indication of the general layout and size of the map. And with this map, when it comes to the size, compared to other Call of Duty maps and games out there, I'd say this is likely classified as a medium to maybe slightly medium small map, where it's not tiny by any means, it's way bigger than Shipment, but it's also clearly not a large map. It's also worth noting this seems to follow a general 3-lane design, which is typically what we'd see in Call of Duty with most maps, because 3-lane design just works really well for a 6v6 experience. And with this, it looks like the bottom lane is primarily going to be for the longer range engagements, so your snipers, LMGs, assault rifles, although you could probably kind of sneak in and out of that lane with an SMG as well. The middle lane in the interiors of the map, that's all about close quarters combat, so it looks like that's where shotguns and SMGs are going to be shining. And then the top lane seems to have a pretty good mix of everything, where you can get some nice long lines of sight with a sniper rifle across that, but it looks like you can also make your way through that building on the top that has the 4 cars in it with your SMGs or shotguns, for instance, to get a flank on those people that are sniping across the long lane. It's also worth noting, as far as we can tell on this map, and this is something I mentioned previously, I don't think there's any second story windows or clear sort of power positions or camping positions on the map. And this is quite important to note because that goes completely against the general map design philosophy we saw in Modern Warfare 2019, which is Infinity Ward's most recent title. As far as we can see based on this at least, this does not look like a Modern Warfare 2019 map at all. If you were to show me this layout and ask me which one of the dev studios for Call of Duty made this map, my first guess would have been Treyarch. This is much more along the lines of a Treyarch style map that encourages a lot more movement and doesn't appear to really reward people for sitting in the same spot all game. I can't really find any spots on this map that I feel it would be super advantageous to just sit there and lock down for the match. Now, of course, I'm sure there's people that'll still try to do that on this map, but it seems like the general layout and positioning of cover is much more conducive to movement and getting things flowing around the map. And that's very refreshing to see from Infinity Ward, and also seems to align with what they were telling us in the pre-reveal presentation for the game. They specifically mentioned that they are going to be taking a bit of a different approach to their multiplayer map design, and this one lines up pretty closely to what they said. And especially for the competitive side of things, I think this is good news, because from the pros that have played the game early, Grand Prix was apparently one of the maps that they really enjoyed and is likely going to end up in the CDL rotation. Now, one other note that I have mentioned in a previous video, but I'm going to bring it up since we're specifically talking about the map today. I didn't see very many interactable doors at all in the flyovers for this map, and most of them just seem to be like pre-opened or is just a gap without an interactable door attached to it. Now, that doesn't mean that there are no interactable doors. It looks like these double doors right here are actually interactable. You can go through them. Possibly right here in this area as well, that might be an interactable door, but we don't get a very good look at that. And then toward the middle of the map here, these also appear to be interactable doors. Outside of that though, it doesn't seem like there's very many interactable doors, and I think that's great for a map with this style, where it really seems to be all about encouraging movement. And with that, that pretty much wraps it up for everything that I wanted to say on this map in particular. I'm quite happy to see a map like this in Modern Warfare 2. I feel like this is quite promising for players like myself that play Call of Duty for the more fast-paced arcadey action, rather than the more hide-and-seek sort of a playstyle. But I should also mention here as well that I don't necessarily want every single map in the game to be like this. I think variety is very important, and I'm totally fine with having some Modern Warfare 2019 style maps mixed in, as long as they just don't take over the entire map rotation. Otherwise, we will likely end up with another Call of Duty game where a huge portion of the player base only wants to play 2 of the maps in the game. With Modern Warfare 2019, this was Shoot House and Shipment, because those allowed you to play super fast-paced, crazy chaotic action, and they were basically nothing like the regular launch maps with the game, which seemed to be a pretty big sign that that map design philosophy didn't really appeal to the masses and probably shouldn't be as prevalent this time around with Modern Warfare 2. It seems like the devs have learned from that. In fact, I believe they learned from that throughout the life cycle of Modern Warfare 2019 as well, because you'll notice a lot of the post-launch DLC maps, they did follow a more simplistic structure, kind of like we're seeing with Grand Prix, at least to some extent. So that's really refreshing and does make me quite optimistic when it comes to their map design philosophy this time with Modern Warfare 2. And that was actually further solidified when we had a look at Farm 18. That also appeared to be a map that was generally geared toward movement, although there was a little bit more verticality in that, as well as what appeared to be some pretty obvious sort of camping or power positions on the map. But as long as they're predictable and not all over the place, I think that's totally fine. But at the end of the day, we've still only seen 2 maps so far, and we haven't had a chance to actually play on them to see how they play, because we also don't know much about the gameplay mechanics and how they're going to be changing, if at all, from previous years. So when it comes to that, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see till we get our hands on it in the beta, although so far, it's looking pretty promising, at least for me and what I look for in a Call of Duty map. And with that, this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. Based on this rough overview that we've been able to see with Grand Prix, what are your thoughts on this general map design philosophy, where it's a little bit more simplistic than we saw with a lot of the Modern Warfare 2019 maps, and it appears to be much more geared toward movement rather than that more porous design that allows players to play a lot more slowly, as well as having a lot of power positions where the map really encourages you to just get to a power position and lock it down. Do you like this general map design approach for Modern Warfare 2, or not so much? Do you feel like maybe this is a bit too simplistic and you would rather see some more power positions and maybe a bit more complexity to the map? Just let me know all of those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.